Dubai, where dreams are built on sand, literally. You want a piece of this shimmering oasis? Forget those dusty, ready homes. Those are for yesterday people. We're talking about the future, baby. We're talking about off-plan. Imagine this, you strolling through a virtual tour of a palace that only exists as pixels on screen. You're not just buying a property, you're buying potential, a promise, a beautiful brochure. Let's be honest, the numbers don't lie. Ready to buy homes? Scarce, like finding parking in downtown. So what do? We flock to the off-plan market. Transactions are soaring, units are flying off the digital shelves, it's a frenzy. But before we get all starry-eyed about those early investment opportunities, let's get real. Off-plan is basically like ordering a dish you haven't tasted yet, based on a menu written by someone. The lower initial prices, flexible payment plans, and the promise of a significant value appreciation. Grab your chai, maybe a croissant for emotional support, because we are diving deep into the architectural abyss. We are asking the tough questions. Are these deals the hidden gold buried beneath the construction dust? Or are we signing up for a lifetime of delayed remorse? Watching our dream home slowly materialize or not while our money sits in an escrow account. Could this all end up in a bigger heartbreak than when your favorite film star dies in the movie's climax? Let's find out. This is Real Talk. Let's talk about history. We had the crash of 2008-2011, then the slow burn from 2014 to 2020. But then 2020 hit and suddenly the property market did a full 180 faster than a flying taxi. What fueled this sudden U-turn? Buckle up for some geopolitics, folks. The Ukraine war in 2022. Suddenly, over 1 million Russians packed their bags and many landed right here looking for stability. The number of actual ready properties for sale? Down by 17% in 2023. And the stats don't lie. Data suggests that off-plan transactions are the rocket fuel for this growth. Almost 25,000 deals in the first quarter of this year compared to 20,000 last year. We are buying dreams faster than we can say Habibi. So yeah, developers are launching off-plan projects like there's no tomorrow, trying to quench this thirst for housing at every price point. From I can barely afford this to my apartment will be in my hands next year. You pay a 20% deposit, which, let's be honest, for a lot of people is the equivalent of their 2 years of annual salary. Then you pay in installments as it gets built. And get this, mortgages are slowly creeping into the off-plan game. Banks and developers are holding hands, offering financing like they're finally realizing we can't all pay in cash. Talking of the affordable payment schemes, pay half now, half when it's done. Stable market, promising rental yields, you could be resting with the ROI. And hey, maybe you can even tell them you want the kitchen counter in a specific shade of beige. Early customization. Living the dream. But hold your horses, folks. Here's where the spice turns a little concerning. Knight Frank dropped a truth bomb. 30 to 35% of off-plan units are completed late. Late like the GTA 6 launch. 300,000 more units are scheduled to be handed over this decade. That's 60,000 a year. But the average handover in the last 2 decades? 36,000. And while waiting for your dream home to materialize is one thing, what about the quality? The promise of panoramic views and the infinity pools. What if reality looks more like a cramped balcony overlooking a construction site? Dubai's tax-free environment is the honey that attracts the real estate investors. But when you're chasing that dream home, you have to be aware of a few things. 1. Developer reputation. This is like choosing the best cafe. Do they have a history of delivering on time? Are their past projects actually standing? Reliability is key, people. Number 2. Budget, budget, budget. Those extended payment plans post handover sounds amazing, but evaluate them like you're scrutinizing your phone bill. Compare, factor in potential construction delays. And what happens if you can't make the payments on time? Let's not even go there. Number 3, escrow accounts, your financial bodyguards. This is where a neutral third party holds your money. Think of it as a prenup for your property purchase. If for some reason the project gets shelved, how do you get your hard-earned dirhams back? The million dirham questions. How do you narrow down on the trusted developer? There are no irresistible payment plans that sound too good to be true. No hidden costs that pop up like uninvited wedding guests. And no constant changes to the project plans. The most valuable lesson I can impart: do your research. Stalk their past projects, talk to previous buyers, read the fine print. Sure, the golden visa and the ease of doing businesses are bringing in the speculators, folks trying to make a quick buck. But what happens if people who actually want to live in these places can't keep up with the payments? So, is off-plan a gamble? Maybe. Can it be a gold mine? Absolutely. This market is booming. The rewards can be huge. But a poorly informed decision, that can be as costly as accidentally agreeing to pay for your entire extended family's vacation. So a lot of planning and a lot of thought goes into anyone who wants to buy any kind of an off-plan property, right? The best way to do this is perhaps take the suggestion or the advice of a real estate professional, and I have one such person with me, and that is Irram Al Ali, who has been a real estate professional since 2006, and
Yes.
you've been the head of sales for quite a few developers here.
Yeah.
And without further ado, I want to jump into the first question straight away. And that is, off-plan sales have surged, making up for at least 60% of Dubai's property transactions. What's driving this boom according to you, and do you see this as a sustainable option?
So the surge in sales of the off-plan market has predominantly increased, like you said, and more so since 2020. What we're seeing is a lot of international demand. So we have clients from all over the world now purchasing into Dubai. I think COVID has obviously the main factor that's driven a lot of people here. So people want newer properties. What's the latest product that's coming into the market? What sort of fixtures and fittings are you going to get? Not everyone wants to buy something with full cash right now. So a lot of clients, what they like to do is actually spread their payments over the course of 3 years, 4 years, 6 years, depending on whatever that developer is offering in terms of payment plan. And what we do see is developers are coming up with more and more competitive payment plans, allowing it to be, more accessible, more easier for you to invest in a product today. So for example, you've got an income coming every month. However, you don't want to go down the mortgage route. You buy off plan. So every month you've got an installment. Some developers have 1% per month, some are quarterly. So it just depends on the client's requirements and needs.
So for a first-time buyer, what are the biggest advantages that you see? Is it only the budget, or are there several things more?
Budget is one of them. However, in the ready market, you might find something more affordable. Okay, but with off-plan, what does it offer? It is the long-term payment plan. It is the payment options. It is the amenities, the facilities that you're going to get, which you're not going to get in a ready property today. So, like I said, if you have the full cash ready, no problem. Go ahead and purchase something ready. If you have the ability to get a mortgage, you would put down 20-30% and take a mortgage. But for somebody who's not able to do that, and someone who doesn't want to use a bank, then they would go down the off-plan route.
And similarly, if you were to talk about the advantages of buying a ready property, what would those be?
So immediate ROI. if you were looking to rent that property out. So as we've seen, in the recent months, rents are increasing more and more. There's a lot of areas that are in demand. There are certain locations such as JVC and Irram wherein, people are making 8 to 10% ROI on their investment. And even villas, townhouses, this is the highest rents that we've seen. So that's the advantage of buying something ready. You're immediately making, your return.
If by any chance the construction gets delayed and the project is not delivered as per what was written on paper, how do you handle those? Because you've been heading sales.
So initially, as a purchaser, you should be reading your sales and purchase agreement. These terms and conditions are obviously mentioned in your SPA. So by law, developers are allowed to be delayed, in some cases 12 months, in some cases 18 to 24 months. So it varies because each sales and purchase agreement is actually checked and verified and approved by the Lands Department. So as a purchaser, you have to read the small print, read all your terms and conditions. And even if a developer with a good track record, I would always advise you to keep a 6 to 8 month buffer on top of any delivery date. Because delays do come from authorities and they're not always in the hands of the developer.
The most trusted developer, that's the key word here when it comes to off-plan sales. So how do you judge that this developer is definitely not going to pack his bags, number one, or this developer is going to deliver on time? What are the records that he has? Or if it is a new developer, how do you compare it to the previous ones? You don't have any past records as such. So when it comes to trusting a developer, what are the qualifications?
In terms of delivery, even the best developers in this industry, the top 5, top 10, they do delay. Okay, so we know that's something that happens. With regards to smaller boutique developers, I advise all my clients to, thoroughly check, have a look at what they've done in the past. Go visit some of their sites, go visit what they've delivered. But as you know, all your money is going into an escrow account. So your money is safe. The Dubai Lands Department has made it very, very transparent for all purchasers.
If there is one advice that they need to take from you before going for a ready plan or an off-plan purchase, what would that be?
I suppose it has to be, are they 100% happy with where they're purchasing, what the location is? Does the location work for them? Are the schools nearby? If you're working, is it accessible? Because nowadays traffic is building up more and more. So you want something that's going to be convenient and not a burden.
When you see the number of off-plan projects burgeoning at such an extent, do you think that Dubai's real estate market is going to head into a bubble of sorts? Is there going to be a boom or a bust?
However, I don't see a burst in this market because we keep getting more and more clients. The amount of international clients we deal with is unbelievable, and they all want a piece of Dubai. So for as long as that will happen, the market will keep going on.
You were talking about the influx of international buyers in the previous statement that you made, and how is that impacting the off-plan market? Because we're talking about competition on one hand and long-term stability on the other.
International buyers have caused a surge here. What might have been affordable, in 2019 is basically double, tripled in price. I used to sell one beds, or let's say studios, for about 400,000 dirhams in JVC. Beautiful, best finishing with appliances. Today you won't get nothing less than 750.
True.
So the market has changed. And as long as these buyers keep purchasing, off-plan market is going to keep on booming because there is a high demand.
When it comes to off-plan markets, there is flexible payment plans on one hand, low entry prices on the other, and you're also looking at off-plan being the most attractive option here. But are there any hidden costs?
Of course, but they're not hidden if you're dealing with the right person. So what do you have to look out for? Number one is your service fees. How much is the service fee? Because if it's really high, is it going to make sense for you to purchase into that product? Of course, we all know 4% Dubai Lands Department fee is there. If you're buying a ready product, for example, and you're taking a mortgage, there'll be a small percentage that your bank will also be charging you. And apart from that, I think there's admin fee. So, which is normally anything between 5,000 to 7,000 dirhams on average with any developer. And if you were to resale, you might have to pay an NOC cost, which is 5,000 dirhams to 10,000. Again, varies on developer to developer. Also, what you need to look out for, again, is the fine print. When can you resell that property? For example, today, you're in a position where you feel that, you know, no problem, I can continue paying this. I can continue with my payment plan. But in, you know, a few years' time, you find yourself, you know, you've lost your job or, you know, some kind of circumstances. What do you do? So most SPAs or, you know, would have that clause about resale. So in most, it's around 40%. I myself, in some of the projects that I've dealt with, have kept it at a 30% mark to make it easier for purchasers to basically be able to resell and exit if they need to.
In your experience, what's the most common regret among off-plan buyers and how would you reverse that?
I think, again, it could be that you've been sold the dream and it wasn't the dream that you were looking for. It could have been that you've put your trust into a real estate broker and you've been pushed to buy a certain product in an area that you were not familiar with. Maybe you live abroad. It's very important to do all your research and make sure you buy something that meets your requirements and your needs.
So I have research ticking off my list, I have budget ticking off my list, but when it comes to these escrow accounts, should there be any kind of stricter rules? How would you say that there needs to be some kind of a protection of sorts that must be lended to off-plan investors?
I mean, there are strict rules. There are. Especially for any new developer coming into the market, the Dubai Land Department is not easy on them. Rest assured, your money is safe. It's gone into escrow and nobody is taking any of that money out until and unless there is a bill against a certain percentage of construction or bill towards marketing, etc. So there's many rules in place by the Lands Department there to protect all purchasers.
So when I see a glossy brochure,
yes,
I don't go by the market price there. I know that there will be several more costs. The more the amenities, the more the service charge, and so on and so forth. So when it comes to these off-plan projects, there are reports of some of them kind of restricting resale. In that particular case, how do you handle that situation?
Because I mean, not just resale, it could be that you've got a particular payment plan, right? Correct. So you've got this fancy payment plan that you've got 2 years post-handover, 3 years post-handover, but you didn't read the clause. And the clause was that if you come to selling it, the new purchaser will not get that payment plan. Okay, so that can happen. So again, it goes back to reading that contract, and if you're not able to, get somebody else to read it for you. Make sure you know what you're signing up for.
When you talk about prices rising in JVC and Business Bay, I think the reports point to 5 to 12% this year. So is there room for capital appreciation there? Are we nearing a peak?
I mean, I suppose when we look at JVC, it's probably nearing the peak in terms of rental, or probably the same rental as you'd be paying in Business Bay in JVC. But people are finding that area very accessible, very easy to commute from there, and lots of amenities. And in terms of Business Bay, of course, we know so many offices and so many businesses are located there. And it's close by to downtown. So I suppose, you know, again, the ROI you make there is extremely good also.
What would you say are the most exciting new off-plan projects for 2025?
Well, I think exciting, we can go through that. And I think affordable, probably if you still entered the Dubai South market, you know, that would be more affordable today. In the future, I think that will have, you know, a lot more capital appreciation. And then exciting wise, I would say a new development that's coming up in the Jebel Ali racecourse. So I believe there's some new villas and townhouses coming up there, and that's amazing because I've been looking at that land for years, wondering what would happen to it. So now there will be a fantastic community which is, not far from here, around, off Hesse Street. So yeah, looking forward to that.
In fact, that's interesting. So villas, townhouse versus studio apartments and one-bedroom apartments. Where do you think it's leaning towards now?
It depends on your requirements.
Okay.
What do you need? Are you on your own? Are you a couple? Are you a family? So everyone has their own requirements. Do you need all these amenities? Because the amenities that you get in a building, you're not going to get in a villa community, So it just all depends on what your requirements are.
So the demand for both kind of options still remains?
Of course.
And still rising?
Of course.
If you were to share a story, a big win or a cautionary tale, 17 years in Dubai real estate, how would you sum up the entire plan of investing in real estate, especially with off-plan market?
We've seen so many changes. I myself have seen 2 crashes. I never thought that we would be at the sort of price point that we are today. I mean, small story I can tell you, in 2011, we had townhouses that were ready in JVC. There was no street lights, there was no footpaths, there was no roads. And we were unable to sell these properties. So what we came up with was a rent to buy option. So what we said is, hi, come and take this property. I think that time the 4-bedroom townhouse was 80,000 a year, which was very high for those days. So pay 80,000 a year, 2 years, you've paid 160, and I'll sign a contract with you now to say I'll sell you this townhouse at 1.6 million, and I will take off this amount that you've paid in rent as a down payment. Okay. And then when those 2 years, so from 2011 when it went to 2013, those same townhouses went up to 1.9 to 2 million dirhams.
Wow.
So the clients that ended up, fulfilling that term and not breaching the contract, ended up with properties that, are now maybe today even worth 3 million dirhams. So it just goes to show how many changes we've had in the market, and many more yet to come.
There are many viewers who aren't just buyers, but are also people who are already in the real estate industry or who would want to be in the real estate industry soon. So what would be your advice to them if you were to start over again today?
I think,
what would I do different?
Nowadays, it's a lot to do with social media. And the successful brokers that I see in today's market, today's industry, are extremely, extremely active on social media. And when I do speak to such brokers and I ask them, where are your leads coming from? Or where are you actually closing your deals from? Most of them reply to me that it's basically from their Instagram accounts or from their TikTok accounts. So I think if I was to sort of start now, if I wasn't so camera shy, I would start basically. I would go with yes, because it's all about social media. There's so many lead generation campaigns that people are running, but as we know, I mean, all those leads are not always so great. So the ratio of closing those is very less, probably 1 in 100, 2 in 100. But when you get your own organic viewers or followers asking you for a property, you'll be able to basically manage them much better. They already have that trust in you. They're watching you. They feel connected to you. So I do feel that, yes, if I was to start again, I would be way more active.
Right. And I'm glad that they would be active by watching the show now.
I hope so.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for
Irram.
having me.
Thanks a lot for the lovely conversation that we had. Please don't go anywhere, because what would you actually do when it comes to a real estate listing? Would it be a buy or a buy? That's more coming up. Time to put on your Sherlock Holmes hats and analyze the off-plan hotspots in Dubai. Where's the potential gold and where are the potential pitfalls? Considering affordability, potential appreciation, those oh so tempting payment plans, and future rental income, areas like Dubai Marina still a classic for luxury. Jumeirah Village Circle or the JVC, the family-friendly contender. And Dubai South, the one with all the future airport buzz. These are all gaining serious traction. They often offer lower entry points compared to the glitz of downtown and the exclusivity of the Palm. Plus, the improving transport links are making them more attractive to a wider range of buyers. Dubai Marina, still the place that ranks on top for luxury living. JVC, where you can actually imagine your kids playing in a park. Dubai South, bet on the infrastructure boom. If you do your homework, pick a developer with a solid reputation and choose an area with real growth potential. Then an off-plan deal could be your customized castle in the sky. And because the initial investment is often smaller, it can be easier to flip if you suddenly decide you need a G-Wagon instead. It starts with uncertainty, yes, but with enough digging, you might just unearth that hidden gold. All right, folks, with an appetite for the unknown, let's digest what we've learned about the off-plan buffet. Those innovative financing options, they are definitely making off-plan deals look tempting. Rising material costs and crazy competition are pushing up prices, but developers are offering flexible payment plans, which is definitely the cherry on the cake. Remember those projects launched last year with completion dates in 2026 and 27? Some were going for as low as 800,000 dirhams with minimal or even zero down payment. You just had to cover the registration fees. Basically, the appetizer before the main course. Developers are suggesting payment plans that don't even start for 3 months. It's like buy now, pay later, but for an entire apartment. And when you're looking at a 2 million dirham property with a 20% down payment, some developers will help you snag that coveted golden visa. It's like getting a free upgrade to business class, but for your residency. But remember, this is a menu where you need to choose wisely. Plan your property meal carefully. Do your research like you're trying to find the best biryani in town. One wrong move and your investment could end up giving you a serious stomachache. Next week, we are getting down and dirty with actual property listings across Dubai. But promise me, you've got at least 1 million dirhams handy. Before I say mazel tov on your future purchase, subscribe, smash that like button and tell me in the comments, are you an off-plan believer? What's your favorite Dubai neighborhood and why? Bonus points if it's not just because of the Instagrammable cafes. See you next Sunday on The Real Deal Dubai. I'm Pratiba Raman and you. Stay real, stay skeptical and remember to read the contract.